I'm going to tell you something that I've never shared with anyone publicly before. But now that everything's come full circle, I think it's time. My name is David, and this is the story of how my in-laws treated me like garbage for years, until I became a millionaire and made sure they paid for every single insult. But before I get into the full story, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on stories like this, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one, and I appreciate you being here. Now, let's get into it. I met my wife, Melissa, during a rough patch in my life. I had just been laid off from my construction job, and I was trying to get a small logistics business off the ground. I didn't have much, just a rusted truck, an old laptop, and a dream. But she loved me anyway, or at least I thought she did. The real problem wasn't her. It was her family. From the very first moment I met them, they looked at me like I was something they accidentally stepped in. I still remember the first dinner I had with them. Her father asked what I did for a living, and when I explained I was running a startup delivery business, he laughed and said, "Oh, so you're basically a glorified errand boy." Everyone at the table laughed, except Melissa. She squeezed my hand under the table, trying to comfort me, but I couldn't ignore how her family dismissed me. Her mom looked at me with this smug look like she couldn't wait to get me out of her daughter's life. And her brother? That guy didn't even shake my hand properly. Just gave me a lazy nod like I wasn't worth the energy. From that day on, I knew I wasn't welcome. But I loved Melissa, and I believed love was enough. Over time, it only got worse. Every time we visited her family, I was treated like a hired help. They'd say things like, "David, could you take out the trash?" Or, "David, can you help clean the gutters?" I didn't mind helping out, but it was the way they said it. There was no respect. No please, no thank you. It was like I was some homeless guy their daughter picked up off the street. Her father would constantly belittle my business. He once told me, "You'll never make it in this world until you stop chasing pipe dreams." Her mother said I was too soft to be the man of the house. And don't get me started on her brother. He would mock my old truck every time I pulled into their driveway. Said it sounded like it belonged in a junkyard. I wanted to speak up, to fight back. But Melissa would always beg me to let it go. "Please, don't cause a fight," she'd say. "They'll come around eventually." They never did. I still remember this one day, her father's birthday dinner. They invited all their friends and extended family. I sat there like an outsider, just trying to be respectful. Then, in front of everyone, her father raised a toast and said, "Here's to my daughter. May she one day realize she deserves better." The whole room laughed. My face burned with embarrassment. I didn't even finish my food. Melissa didn't say anything. She just kept her head down. That night, I cried alone in the car while she apologized over and over. But it wasn't her apology I needed. It was their respect. And clearly, I was never going to get it. I went home that night and made a decision. I wasn't going to fight them with words. I was going to fight them with results. I got up the next morning, opened my old laptop, and made a new business plan from scratch. I stayed up night after night building, tweaking, reaching out to potential clients, pitching deals, learning digital marketing, and grinding my way through every setback. It was slow. It was painful, but I was fueled by every insult, every smirk, every moment I had been treated like less. For a while, nothing worked. I made deliveries myself, slept in the truck sometimes, ate fast food just to get by. Melissa was supportive, but even she started losing hope. One night, after I came home exhausted, she asked me, "Do you think it's time to consider a normal job?" That crushed me, but I didn't get angry. I just smiled and said, "No, I'm building something they're all going to regret laughing at." And I meant it. Eventually, things started to shift. I landed a deal with a local electronics shop, then a second deal with a regional grocery chain. I hired one driver, then two, then five. Then I expanded to another city. Before I knew it, I wasn't just delivering packages. I was running full supply routes across the state. But I never posted anything online. I didn't buy a flashy car. I didn't upgrade my apartment. I wanted to wait. I wanted to hit a certain level of success before I showed them what I had become. And that's exactly what I did. Years passed. My business exploded. My income skyrocketed. I was a millionaire on paper and soon in cash. But to my in-laws, I was still the broke, failed delivery guy until the day their world started to crumble. By the time my business really took off, I had built a team of over 40 drivers, secured contracts with 2 nationwide retailers, and opened regional offices in 3 cities. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. Quietly. Intentionally. I kept everything low profile because I didn't want applause. I wanted patience. I wanted the right moment. And that moment came sooner than I expected. Melissa came home one afternoon, looking concerned. She told me her father's business, an old textile company he inherited from his own father, was struggling. Apparently, they had taken out loans and invested in some overseas factory that went south. Her mom had already sold some of her jewelry. Her brother had been laid off and was begging for money from everyone he knew. They were desperate, drowning. I didn't say a word. I just listened. She didn't ask me to help, not yet, but I knew it was coming. And it did. 1 week later, she sat beside me on the couch and said, "My dad wants to know if we can loan him some money, just to keep the factory afloat for a few months." I looked at her and said, "Why didn't he ask me himself?" She hesitated, then said, "He's still proud." That was funny. Proud enough not to ask me directly, but not too proud to beg through his daughter. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't mock him. I just said, "Tell him I'm not in a position to help." And that was technically true. I wasn't in a position to help him. I had other plans. I started watching, paying attention, tracking their movements from a distance. I had a friend in real estate who gave me a heads up. Her parent home was about to go into foreclosure. They had missed too many payments. And that house, that was the same house where I was insulted, belittled, and treated like I wasn't human. It was poetic justice. So I told my friend, buy it. Through an LLC. Don't put my name on anything. I transferred the money. Paid in full. I didn't even negotiate. I just wanted it done quietly. Within a few weeks, the paperwork was completed. The bank handed over the deed to the LLC. And just like that, I owned their house. The same one they made me feel worthless in. The same one where her dad laughed at my dreams. The same one where her brother mocked my clothes and her mom acted like she was letting a stray dog into her living room. Melissa didn't know at first. I didn't want her caught in the middle. But the day they received their official eviction notice from the bank, she got a phone call from her mom, sobbing. "We're losing the house," she cried. "Everything's gone." I sat there quietly while Melissa cried on the phone with her mom. She was heartbroken, not for them as much as for the humiliation her family was now facing. I waited until she got off the phone, then I told her everything. I said, "That house, it belongs to me now." She looked at me like I just confessed to murder. "What do you mean?" "I mean I bought it. Through an LLC. It's mine now. Every inch of it." She just sat there, silent. I told her, "I'm not kicking them out tonight. I'll give them 30 days. But after that, I don't owe them anything." She didn't scream. She didn't yell. She just looked down and whispered, "They deserve it." That was the first time she ever said that out loud. The next day, I drove to the house. I didn't wear a suit or try to look rich. I came just as I always had, plain clothes, quiet presence. I knocked. Her father opened the door and nearly choked when he saw me standing there. "What are you doing here?" he asked. I held up a folder. "This is the deed. I own the house now. You've got 30 days to move out." He laughed at first, a nervous, shaky laugh. "You're bluffing." I opened the folder, showed him the paperwork. His face went pale. He called for his wife, who came rushing down the stairs, still in her robe. When she saw the documents, she looked like she was about to faint. They stood there, speechless, and I stood there calm. I said, "I didn't come here to humiliate you. I came to give you notice. You have a month. After that, I expect the place to be empty." Her brother came in next, holding a beer can at noon, and when he saw me, he scoffed. "You? You bought the house? How?" I looked him dead in the eye and said, "With the same business you said would never work." He didn't have anything to say after that. I turned around and walked out of the house. Didn't look back. Didn't smile. I didn't need to. The silence behind me was louder than anything they ever said. The thing is, I didn't do any of this to be cruel. I didn't do it to rub their faces in it. I did it because they never saw me as a human being. They thought I was disposable, laughable, and I wanted them to feel what it was like to be powerless, to have your pride swallowed, to be handed the same disrespect they gave me for years. And now it was only just beginning. 30 days came and went faster than I expected. I didn't have to hire lawyers or show up with security. They left quietly. I heard they moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Her parents, her brother, and his 2 kids from a woman he never married. Melissa didn't even bother visiting them anymore. She said the shame was too much for her. I didn't pressure her. I let her sit in it, feel it, process it her way. Meanwhile, I had one last move to make. See, while they were busy packing boxes and figuring out how to survive, I was digging deeper. And I found something big. Years ago, Melissa's father had made shady deals with a small textile importer in Asia. The supplier filed a quiet lawsuit after her father defaulted on a $250,000 shipment, and he had forged Melissa's signature on one of the contracts to avoid accountability. That company had been trying to locate her for years, assuming she was complicit. When I discovered it, I didn't say anything to Melissa. Not right away. I contacted the company, showed them evidence that she had no part in it, and had the case dropped against her completely. Then I filed a counter-report exposing her father's fraud with proof. He was arrested 2 months later. When the news broke, Melissa cried. But not out of grief. It was release. Like the weight she'd been carrying since she was a teenager had finally broken loose. I didn't celebrate. I just held her while she cried. We both knew it was only a matter of time before everything that had been built on lies would collapse. Her mother tried calling after the arrest. Melissa didn't answer. Her brother sent texts begging for money. She blocked him. The people who once sat on golden chairs, sipping wine and mocking my dreams, were now scattered, broken, humiliated, living off food stamps and borrowed time. And me? I was just getting started. A few weeks later, I took my son for a weekend trip. Just the 2 of us. We stayed in a quiet cabin in the mountains. I taught him how to build a fire. We went hiking. At night, we sat outside looking at stars, and he asked me, "Why did you and Mom get divorced?" I paused. I looked him in the eye and said, "Because some people don't see value in others until it's too late." He nodded like he understood, even if only a little. Then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "I'm glad you found me." I didn't cry, but something in me cracked open in that moment. All the bitterness, all the revenge, all the late nights working, planning, rebuilding, it all melted for a second. Because no matter what I'd lost, no matter how cruel the world had been to me, I had found the one thing I never even knew I needed: him. I made a decision that night. I would stop chasing revenge. I had done enough. I had made my point. Her family had crumbled not because I crushed them, but because they built their empire on arrogance, greed, and lies. I didn't destroy them. I simply let time and truth do its work. Back in the city, I sold the house I took from them. Didn't even go inside again. I donated half the proceeds to an organization that helps young entrepreneurs from low-income families get access to funding and training. The rest, I invested in a scholarship fund for single fathers trying to raise kids on their own. I knew what that struggle felt like. I wanted to make sure someone else had a better shot. Melissa and I, we didn't get back together, but we healed. Slowly. She started therapy, apologized for everything, and worked hard to rebuild her life. She became a better mother, more humble, more aware, and I respected that. We co-parented peacefully. No drama, just quiet respect. One evening, a couple of years later, I got an invite to speak at a business seminar for young startups. When I walked into the hall, I saw one of Melissa's old friends sitting in the front row. Her jaw dropped when she saw me. After the event, she came up and said, "I didn't know you were that guy now." I smiled and said, "I've always been that guy. Some people just never took the time to see it." And that's really the heart of it. They thought they broke me. But what they didn't realize is they gave me fuel. Every insult, every rejection, every betrayal, it pushed me further, sharpened me, taught me how to rise without rage, succeed without screaming, and get even without lifting a single hand. I didn't have to destroy anyone. I just had to become someone they couldn't ignore. And I did, quietly, completely, on my own terms.